play 2 games while on their tour. Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Mike Amos. He's Bill Rice as we start a Friday, the 26th day of July, and hope everybody out there is doing well. It's a beautiful day, and of course, weather pretty good. We were in the 80s pretty much yesterday. I don't know what that means, but
it was really nice yesterday. The humidity was down, but then I read where Europe and London and Paris are having an all-time heat wave, 108-degree temperatures in Paris, I believe.
And the Troy University women's basketball team will know all about it as they prepare to travel to Paris, Madrid, and Barcelona to do a little off-season basketball training. Of course, while in France, the Trojans will visit I don't want to get into these French names, but several teams there that they will be playing, and the team will also be in Madeleine, Vidam. This is something for you, Rice. Vidam Square, Opera of the District.
Didn't you take French in high school?
Well, they're going to. No, I didn't. I don't know many people that did. I can't understand why. Are you really that much taller than me? That's what I can't understand. I don't know what the deal is with this morning, but the bullfighting in Madrid. These girls are going to have a great time, and while they're going to play a little basketball. Troy returns 9 letter winners from last season, 22 game winning team, and they've got a shot at having another great team this year. So these girls, hey, you come to Troy to play girls basketball, you get to go to Europe.
I love that they made this trip possible. That'll be something to remember their whole lives.
And I was out at my good friend Jason Gregory's premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram trucks on the bypass in Troy, and they've got a deal going on right now that I don't know how anybody can stay away from. They've got 0% interest for 72 months. Pretty good deal, isn't it? And we'll be talking more about that.
That would be 12 into 72 equals 6, so that would be 6 years.
No question about it. You're on Today in LA. How you doing?
Hi, morning.
Where are you calling from, sir?
Graton Beach, Florida.
What are you doing watching Today in LA from Graton Beach, Florida? You would think you'd be out on the beach.
A little too early for that.
Have you seen a single bike rider this morning?
I don't know. I'm upstairs today. I'm not looking out on the porch this morning.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
You're right. I couldn't get up and do it, but it's sometimes you stay at the beach and you got a place that has a balcony, and you'll go out and have your coffee and look at the sunrise.
He doesn't drink coffee. He's not mature enough yet to drink coffee. He was raised around a coffee drinker, though.
That's all right. And then, but you look down on the beach and on the morning, and you see a lot of people out there walking and enjoying themselves. It's not too hot yet.
Of course, it's a Friday, and we're excited about that. Hey, there's a great show coming up, yet to be released, but Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be in a movie coming up that's going to do a lot of dancing, and he's a great actor. And now we're going to see what kind of dancer he is.
Yes, Quentin Tarantino's latest movie.
Yeah, that's right.
About Hollywood. And it has something to do with the Charles Manson family, too.
Oh, boy. And
Tarantino always does, fictional characters, and this looks really good. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Actually,
I tell you, I'm looking forward to it. And I tell you,
it came out yesterday. It's got Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, so it should be pretty good.
Oh yeah, and it's already come out now.
Yeah, it opened yesterday.
Gosh, I might ride down. I don't know if Troy's got it, but I'd love to see it. I'm gonna be tied up though tonight and tomorrow night with Rock and Roll Reunion.
All the boppers are coming to
town. The beboppers are coming to town, Mike.
All the hotels will be filled, not because of graduation, but because of the boppers.
No, I'll tell you, it's because of Troy's graduation, and that's today. It starts at 10:30. over 500. They're having an off. The last count was close to let's see.
I had a huge number.
They had 750, I think, last graduation. And of course, this is a summer graduation, and it's always a little bit smaller than your regular graduation. But 500 young people will graduate from Troy University today, and we wish you a great life and a great head start on being great citizens and great parents in the future.
And future big donors to Troy University.
Exactly right. We want you to give back, to a university that's been very good to you. Of course, John Conley is going to the country music singer is coming to Dothan.
He's a legend. Rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, I know. Is that what he's saying?
That I'm looking through. Yeah.
And he'll be in Dothan on August the 1st, and at the Dothan Opera House. Yeah. And we're looking at a lot of things that are going on in our community. Jack's Hamburgers.
The Mount Rushmore from Birmingham High School. You remember we talked about that the other day. That was selected. It was Bo Jackson, Cornelius Bennett, David Palmer, and Tony Nathan.
Whoa,
I
boy!
think I called it exactly. I think I called it.
How good can you get? And congratulations to those guys that got that right. Barber County has hired a football coach, or going to hire a football coach. So they're in need.
They have the longest losing streak in Alabama high school football right now.
And
what is it? How many is it? You know?
I don't know. I'll have to look and see. I know Calhoun or somebody. I think that they actually won a game a few years ago.
They're located in downtown Louisville, Barber County High School of Louisville, and they.
I went to when I was still covering local sports as a newspaper guy. I remember covering I think it was Goshen versus Barber County, or it might have been Pike County versus Barber County. And it was the saddest thing I've ever seen in sports. I think there were about 9 fans that came over from Barber County to watch their team play. And you said that, I can't remember if they had a band, but, they had about 40 football players, and then there were, I could, on 2 hands, count the number of fans that were.
Well, if they do like Bullock County has done, Bullock County of Union Springs was down in football for a long time. Always had a good basketball team. Well, they finally got a coach that can influence these basketball players to come out for football. Now they have got quite a football program at Bullock County High School of Union Springs. And Barber County can do the same thing.
Exactly right. One person can turn it around. One person.
Because they're always good in basketball.
Barber County's in Clayton, isn't it?
Yeah, Clayton and Louisville, that area. I think the school's located in Louisville.
Troy had a great player come out of there 3 or 4 years ago, Emmanuel Thompson, the wide receiver.
Yes, sir. He sure was, and he was a great player for Troy. Ozark has won again. Coach David Heath put both hands on his shoulders of slugging Ozark first baseman Harrison Gray and looked at him square in the eyes as the two stood down the third base line on Thursday. Harrison had been in a slump. I told him, I said, son, you're one swing away from winning it. And Ozark trailed the Dothan Dragons 5-3 as Gray went to the plate in the bottom of the 7th inning with the bases loaded and 2 outs. And here we go. The 16, 17 and under AAU National Championship Tournament on the line. The Dragons of Coach Jake Kirkland had forced a, if necessary, game with a 11-5 win early in the day. Gray changed everything as he ripped a pitch in the gap in right center field to clear the bases and give the championship to the home team. Ozark 6-5 over as Darrell Lee dove in safe for the final tally. He's fast, and I knew he was going to score when I hit that ball, and Lee went all the way around to score, and Ozark wins the 17 and under championship of AAU baseball. So, boy, they had a great year. They won the 15 and under. Now they come back and win the 17, and of course the Dothan Cardinals and want to mention all the great coaches down there. One of them is Dr. Michael Precise, my dentist, and boy, he is a great coach. And of course, these guys have played hard all year long, have traveled all across the country, and now in this AAU championship, Ozark, under Coach David Heath, and then under Coach Michael Precise, have won another 2 more state championships. So congratulations. Of course, we'll talk more about that championship as we go on, but that tournament was held right here in Troy, and right here in Ozark, and we wish all these guys. Dothan beat Ozark game 1, 11-5 in the finals, but the Warriors of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, defeated the North Florida Black Sox on Thursday, and but then Dothan came around and won that game, leading up to the championship. North Florida bounced back and beat the defeating the Warriors 7-3 to make that a championship game. So a lot of great baseball played at that wonderful old ballpark there in Ozark. It's the park where Chase Riddle played and coached in years ago in the old Alabama-Florida League.
How about that?
There was those old ballparks were really something, and Ozark has upgraded that ballpark, and they use it in tournaments, and just a great place to play.
We're talking to Max Howell the other day, and he said that his dad was a basketball player, but he said he played in industrial basketball leagues and it's kind of like toured all over.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'd never really heard of those until I read the biography of Pete Maravich's. And that book actually spends just as much time talking about Pete Maravich's daddy, Press Maravich.
Yeah.
And he was, of course, Pete Maravich's basketball coach at LSU. But that's the way he got into basketball. He didn't go to a college immediately. He played in these industrial leagues with grown men sponsored by some industry. I think it was a coal mine where he came from. And, they play all over and travel.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would play pro teams, but it seems like it was pretty good basketball.
Yeah. Mike, I want to mention a good friend of yours, Willie Wright, was recognized last week in Montgomery at the Alabama High School Athletics Association meetings. He was nominated as one of seven principals that make a difference in the state of Alabama. So that was Wright has been principal at Pike County High since 2011, after serving several years as assistant principal. And of course, I watched him grow up. He was an outstanding pitcher himself, and his brother went on and pitched in the major leagues. Tell us about him, Mike. Hello.
He must be taking care of the kids.
Must have
I can tell you a little bit about him.
No, Wesley Wright pitched for the Cubs and I think the Dodgers, the Astros. He pitched for several teams.
And Willie.
But we're talking about Willie has received an award, Mike, as one of the 7 high school principals that make a difference.
Yeah, I've been around him many times at Pike County High School. He runs a tight ship over there. I mean, he's a disciplinarian. There's no doubt about it. I mean, those kids over there respect him, and
the coaches respect him. That's important too.
Yeah, I mean, they respect him, and it's one of those things where he's old school for the principal. Just been around him a few times out there, and congratulations to him. He's a guy that can go a long ways, and
I remember him.
No question about it.
I covered that Dixie Boys team that won the World Series in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Mike went up there and covered it for Troy Cable. He was he was the most versatile player on that team. He could play shortstop and good hitter, and when they needed him to, he could pitch. I think he was the pitcher in that last game at the end.
Oh yeah, he was quite a player.
And then he went on, and he lived between here and Montgomery and Raymer somewhere, just where he grew up. But I think he played high school ball, maybe at Jeff Davis, and then but he always played summer ball in Troy, and then he came back and he played for Troy University's baseball team and had a good career.
I think Troy's a little tailback, and I call him little. I reckon he weighs around 200 pounds, doesn't he? He's just not what he. Yeah. Mike, he is receiving more acclaim, preseason acclaim than any Troy running back I can ever remember. I mean, he's up for another award.
Yeah, I mean, I know he rushed for 1,100 yards last year, 1,200 yards. So, I mean, good for him.
A lot of people look at it, he rushed for right at 100 yards against Nebraska and 2 touchdowns. That sort of, lit the light under some people saying, hey, who is this running back at Troy, B.J. Smith, of course, is from the Stanhope Elmore area. He played for Stanhope Elmore in high school and is going to lead the Trojans. And, everybody, we lost this, we didn't lose him, but the running back from Texas A&M that Troy has recruited and signed, and he's on campus right now, was not eligible this year, so he's going to have to sit out a year. But Smith said, hey, what's the worry? I can run it 20 times a game.
My wife used to teach at Stanhope Elmore High School, and they had some great athletes, that's for sure.
Well, a couple of them played in the pros. Mike, tell us about the running backs at Troy. Who we got to look at?
I was going to tell you who Wright played for. Wesley Wright played for the Dodgers, Houston Astros, Tampa Bay Rays, Chicago Cubs, Baltimore Orioles.
Golly.
Then he signed a minor league deal with Los Angeles Angels, a minor league deal with Arizona Diamondbacks, and then a minor league deal with the Boston Red Sox.
Man, that is a career.
His last minor league stop was with the Texas Rangers in 2017. So
does that mean he'll get a pension?
Oh yeah. In 2017, he announced Wright had decided to retire, and he took a job as a scout with the Minnesota Twins.
That's great. Plus gets a pension, so congratulations.
That's what Clint Robinson out of Dothan, that was a great player at Troy. He's a scout for the Florida Marlins.
And he hung in there about how many years, Mike?
Clint was only like 3 years of Major League service, 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah. Of course, to remember graduation today at 10:30. If you want to eat in Troy, you better go ahead and eat before say 12:30 or 1 o'clock, because after 1 o'clock they come swarming in to eat at Sisters and places like Sisters, but not as good as Sisters, I promise you. We were talking the other day, and there's a lady out there that has gotten rich because of her homemade cooking, but there's no question in my mind anywhere the Sisters restaurant, the food is as good there as Paula Dean's ever put on anybody's plate.
I know.
Don't you agree?
I
Yeah.
do, yeah.
I do too.
And of course, Sisters open every day of the week with a buffet except on Saturday. And I remember that.
The only place that's in Sisters League is Dirk's Filet and Vine in Cloverdale in Montgomery. That's about.
I don't believe I've ever eaten that.
Well, you need to.
Is it a buffet or what is it?
It's a buffet, and it's like Sisters. You better get there. You better beat the lunch crowd or go after the lunch crowd.
Yeah.
And it's a cross section of Montgomery, Old Montgomery, Rich Montgomery, working.
Is it better than?
And then the people that really discovered it is all the Maxwell Air Force Base people have discovered it.
I tell you, it's hard to beat Martin's up there too, and their coconut pie is awfully good.
Didn't you used to go to Down the Street Cafe?
I love Down the Street Cafe. It's a great place to eat, no question about it. Let me just say this: if you went into Martin's today and ordered chicken, and you said, "I want chicken white meat," they bring you out 2 huge breasts. I mean, big breasts, and then the best homemade cornbread muffins you'll ever put in your mouth.
There is a
best homemade coconut pie you'll ever put in your mouth, and they've got relish. This relish, pickle relish, and then the vegetables, and the food is just outstanding at Martin's.
There's a website that rates and reviews restaurants in Montgomery, called Lunch in the Gump. I guess it's still going on. Lunch in the Gump. That's the nickname for Montgomery the Gump. And my older brother Rush was one of the group of guys that created that website. And
Did he?
And they're all just super clever guys, and they would go anonymously and eat, and that people wouldn't know who they were, and then they would write about their experiences with these little funny reviews. They didn't deal with chains. You had to be a locally owned restaurant. Well, that went on and had a pretty good following, and then one of their members put it on Facebook and started letting anybody comment that wanted to. And that site went viral. It soon had like 20,000 members with everybody in Montgomery writing reviews and rating restaurants. It became a huge thing.
Yeah. Want to mention, of course, a sad thing. Our good friend Otis Stone's funeral will be tomorrow from Green Hills, and great man. Troy lost a great man in Otis Stone. Came here and retired, and been involved in somebody. He would be considered or called the Onion Man. He sold the onions for so many years for the Exchange Club, and boy, he made sure you got your onions, and those onions last you a whole year. Came out of Vidalia, Georgia, and it's some of the best in the
Who
world.
always sold them to us was Jerry Beckett.
Yeah, and of course he quite a man. Also in downtown.
Do you want to know the Troy running backs?
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
You got Javier Dauncey Fry. He's the guy that, went 60 or 70 yards against Clemson. He was hurt. And then he came back, and he played a pretty good bit last year, so he's a junior now. DJ Smith out of Millbrook's the senior running back that's up for all the awards. They got a kid out of McDonough, Georgia, Eagles Landing Christian, Josh Mays, number 25. He's 5'9", 187. They got Charles Strong, the kid out of Texas A&M, 6'1", 215. He'll have to sit out this year. And then they've got Trevon Wolfolk, redshirt freshman, Fort Valley, Georgia, Peach County High School. And then they got a kid out of Gaston that played at Gaston City High School named Jamontrez Woods.
I heard he was really good.
Coach Brown recruited him. And then you got D.K. Billingsley, the kid out of Scottsboro that's the bigger back of everybody. He's 5'11", 210 pounds out of Scottsboro. He's a sophomore.
Yeah. All right, so they look pretty solid at running back, and and of course Smith stays healthy. I think they'll do well, don't you? Tell us the right now, since you're there. Of course, the quarterback position is solid right now, without any question.
Well, I mean, it's solid as a starter, but as a backup, there's a lot of questions, yeah.
All right, tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, we talked about it yesterday, but I mean, you got Caleb Barker, who's the senior quarterback. You got Jacob Free, the kid out of Brantley, who's a sophomore that transferred from Vanderbilt, and then Northwestern.
How is he doing, Mike? Did he have a pretty good?
No clue. I have no clue how anybody's doing.
And did he have a pretty good junior college year last year?
Yeah, they'll have his stats. I'll have to pull them up, but I mean, I think he threw from over 2,000 yards, which I read originally.
That's not bad. He's a great guy. I know that.
Yeah,
great kid.
Northwest Mississippi Community College. He threw for 2,036 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions.
Not bad at all. And so he'll be in the running for one of the backup positions right now.
Yeah, I mean, you think it's either going to be him or Gunnar Watson, the kid out of Atlanta.
All right, now let me tell you, I was going to a Georgia Southern game this year, and I dropped by and was the Peach. You know where the Peach Barn is there, where Fort Valley State's located, and they noticed my hat. And they said, "Oh, we've got a boy a young man that played quarterback over here that plays for Troy now." And I said, "Who?" He said, "Gunnar Watson." And I said, "Well, yeah, Gunner's going to do well." And the old guy looked at me and said, "He was a household word over here. He was a great high school player." Tell us a little bit about him, Mike.
I have to find his information, but
I love his name.
Gunnar Watson.
yeah, it sounds like a quarterback's name.
It's Gunter, not Gunner, like shooting a gun.
And then, of course, we lost.
Here's number 18, so maybe he was a Peyton Manning fan.
And something that really
6'3", 205 out of Butler, Georgia, Taylor County High School.
6'3", 205. Pretty big guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like in high school he threw for 6,700 yards, 65 touchdowns in 43 games.
In 43 games, that's pretty good. Pretty good. He's a tall, lanky kid that can run a little bit too, can't he?
He was a 3-star quarterback, 42nd best pro-style quarterback in the country. Was a 2-time.
Now hold on there. 43rd in the country. You reckon how many quarterbacks are in the country? 1,000?
A lot more than that. How many?
I mean, hey, all right. He was 43rd now. And there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 or even 10,000 quarterbacks in the country playing high school football.
Well, in Alabama, you got about 60 teams in each classification. You got 6, 7 classifications. You got AIS.
So
you got probably about 500 high schools in Alabama.
So on paper, Mike, he is really a talented young man, isn't he?
Yeah, he played in 2 games last year. He played against Florida A&M. He's 5 for 8 for 20 yards. Then he played against Liberty. He was 3 for 4 for 25 yards. So he doesn't have really any experience, but he has been in a game.
So that's your quarter. Any other quarter? Well, we got the young freshman.
We got the Gavin Screws kid. We mentioned him the other
Boy,
day.
I met him. He's a big fiery redhead, Mike. He's got bright red hair and a big old red beard. And I asked him, I said, I think I read where you threw for 58 touchdowns during your high school career. He said, no, sir. I threw 6 for 63 touchdowns in his career. That's a lot of touchdowns.
How about when Corey Robinson was at Troy? Didn't he throw something like 90 or 100?
In 1 year. He was fabulous. But this is a young man who's got talent.
To Neil Brown and that coaching staff. Of course, they're at West Virginia now, and we hope to have Neil on the show one day, maybe before the season starts. But they didn't take any of these players. Not one Troy player left to go to West Virginia. Not one recruit left to go to West Virginia.
No. The one left to go to Kentucky, though, Mike.
Yeah, one of them went to Kentucky, but I'm just saying that Coach Brown, didn't get involved in getting any of his players to leave to come with him.
He actually was named coach at West Virginia later than all the other coaching changes for some reason.
Oh, he had already signed 17 of Troy's players.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Jim Lindsey could only sign 5 guys when he got to Troy.
That's right. And see, that's that early signing period that Troy and teams like Troy, the mid-level Division 1A programs, able to get these players early, and then when the big boys like Alabama and Auburn, coming back to try to pick up some of these other guys, well, Troy's already got them signed. Mm-hmm. Not committed, but signed.
Yeah.
So
the early sign-up here is good for a non-Power 5 school.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm trying to take a look at who that is walking into our studio. But, I think I know this guy. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. He sure is. And T. Bob Davis has just walked in. You know him, Rice?
I do.
Have you ever heard of this legendary piano player?
I have heard of him.
They came out of Murphy Street in downtown Troy, Alabama. And we're going to bring him on our show in a minute, and it's going to be fun. We'll sit him right in here between us, Rice. You've heard of Bill Rice, haven't you? This is his boy, Bill Jr.
How many people do you have coming to your reunion?
I don't know. Right now, over 100. So it's going to be a big reunion. And T-Bob is the class of 1959. Is already in town. And let me tell you something about him before we bring him up here to introduce you. Mike, the First Baptist Church of Dallas, Texas, T-Bob, has how many people?
13,000.
How many?
13,000.
13,000 members of the First Baptist Church of downtown Dallas,
Texas. That was Troy's population for the whole time I was growing up, 13,000.
And for how many years have you been their piano player?
I started 52 years ago.
52 years ago.
Wow.
And still are their lead piano player?
I'm there. I'm not playing routinely, but I went to Prestonwood for 24 years.
Where now?
Prestonwood.
Oh, okay, I got you.
That sounds like a mega church.
That's right.
13,000.
No, but you know what? I saw him, his pastor on TV the other day. This is not one of these mega churches. This is just the First Baptist Church of Dallas. Is that right?
Yeah.
And we're going to bring him in. Let me tell you what he's also very well known for. Of course, he grew up here in Troy. He worked behind the counter at Green's Drugs. Now, was Ward before you or after you?
Before.
All right, there was a guy named Ward. I'm trying to think of his first name. He worked behind the counter. Then T-Bob. Then Merle Barron came after T-Bob. And I don't know who came behind Merle. But it was behind the counter at Green's Drugs on North 39th Street.
Bubba Bruce was before us.
Bubba Bruce. Okay, well, we'll have fun talking about it.
Laverne.
Oh, yeah, I got you. We're going to have a lot of fun with that today, talking to T-Bob. In just for a few minutes, we'll be bringing him up. He's here for his class reunion and also for Reunion 2019, where on Saturday night, the Fabulous Shades in concert and dance at the Troy Country Club, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Those guys.
How many times have you seen the Fabulous Shades in your life?
Oh, I don't know. I've booked them probably 100 times or more. But they're good friends of mine, and of course we grew up with them. Of course, John Key was the superintendent of education here for several years, and Dr. John Key, and he's their lead guitar guy, and one of their main singers of all time, and then David Headley is their trumpet player, and I've known him all my life. We grew up together and graduated.
The Fabulous Shades got a trumpet player?
Oh, do they? Man, they've got two sax. They got a trumpet player and two sax players. Bob Corley from right here in Troy headed up the public television in Alabama for a long time.
He's a cousin of mine, distant cousin of mine.
Well, he's the sax player and one of the singers, and then let's see. I was trying to think. Our drummer is a veterinarian in Birmingham, and the lakes out there on highway the lakes located there at Spring Hill. L&L Lakes.
L&L Lakes, yeah.
All right, he is part of that family, and he's got a landing strip out there where he lands his plane when he comes to town.
Hey, that's cool.
And of course, all of these guys are from Troy, except for one who is the lead
I've
guitar
heard of
player.
them my whole life, and I know they had a fantastic career. It sounds like, I mean, this is a little side job for a lot of people, but it sounds like these guys did really well with their bands. Performed all over the South, from what I gather.
No question about it, and well, they're great guys, and they've played, like you said, they still play a lot of 50s and 60s music across the country, but they're laid back and they enjoy what they do.
I wonder what the first time they played in front of public was. I bet they can tell us.
Well, I can tell you because I went to school with them. They started in 1964. The band started in 1964, and they started playing to all these teen clubs, the Op Teen Club, the Ozark Teen Club, the Andalusia Teen Club, and they became pretty popular. And they recorded a song which I think is one of the best out there, and T-Bob and I will talk about it in a moment. But they call me Mr. Pitiful.
Uh-huh.
And Steve, if you can find Mr. Pitiful, they recorded that back in the 60s, and it's still a great song. And I have it on my on my jukebox.
They wrote their own songs, and
well, they did then. They recorded that song, but it was hard to.
Well, there are so many great musicians that just never got the right break or never knew the right person. But I bet it's as good as anything that you hear on the radio.
T-Bob, take those upstairs, those tapes, if you got it upstairs, and see if he can run some of those, and then come right back down, if you will.
I just read an article that Chip Lindsey, of course he's Troy's head coach, offered Caleb Nix his first offer to come to Troy University.
Is that the other son? Who?
And he's Patrick Nix and Bo Nix's brother, who plays at Pinson Valley High School. He'd be a part of the 2022 class. So Chip Lindsey's offering him as what is that? Would that be a sophomore?
Yeah, that would be a sophomore. So he is going to be the quarterback next year, you think, or what?
I mean, he'll probably be the quarterback at Pinson Valley next year.
That's what I'm saying.
It's amazing that this is the first offer that Caleb Nix has already gotten.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Dylan Moses got one in his first offer in 8th grade. He's the linebacker for Alabama. LSU offered him when he was in 8th grade. And he was on the cover of ESPN
That's right.
magazine.
That's right. And Alabama ended up getting him, didn't
I think
he?
Alabama offered him about 3 months after LSU did, and he ended up coming to Alabama.
We don't have any information on how our two teams are in the World Series. Eight and under teams in the World Series in Ruston, Louisiana, and our girls are also in the. They're playing in the World Series too. And we wish them a lot of luck. So we've got two teams in the World Series right now. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with T-Bob in just a moment.
All right, let me move this over for you.
Yeah. Put him in the middle. Put a chair there. There we go.
You want some more coffee, Mike?
Yeah, bring me a cup. Mike, how's things going this morning?
We're doing good. Sandra came down last night from Birmingham, so we're going to probably take the girls down the beach in a little while.
Well, that'd be fun. Anything else going on?
Oh, man, we just got stuff going on with the house. Always got something going on.
Yeah. T-Bob.
T-Bob, ready?
Come on down here. Well, they might not be able to get all that on, but I just want you to see.
When's Mom coming back down, Sunday?
I love my job. We get to help people who are having the worst day of their life.
You just got to be ready for whatever hits.
She wasn't breathing. She was almost dead.
Stay still there. Stay still. It's fine.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance needs.
Sorry, Dunn from Dixie Trails. You get your truck washed here?
I sure do.
Really, Johnson? I know you're not bringing them cow trucks over here.
I do, and they're like me when I leave.
Loretta, what are you doing?
Getting my car detailed.
At Trojan Detail, we do it all.
The nursery at First Baptist.
Did she really? Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, we're coming to you from our studios on South Brundage Street in Troy, Alabama. Yeah, I want to see that yearbook right here.
This is the yearbook that we had.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
The Trojan.
Boy, it looks like mint condition, man.
Oh
I
yeah.
tell you.
Oh yeah.
It's great. Let me look at it a little bit.
Yeah.
We have our.
This is the one of the graduation. I believe it may have been homecoming or something. Mary Beth McCall.
Yes, Mary Beth, and she'll be here.
Mary Beth McCall Phillips.
Yeah, there you go.
She's done a great job of keeping us together the last few years.
Exactly.
Susie Qualls did it forever, and now Mary Beth is doing it. And that was us with Dr. Smart, who's...
Exactly. And I can remember these guys very well. You'd be surprised how well I remember these folks. And of course, Camille Head was a beautiful girl that came through there. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning we want to introduce you to T. Bob Davis, a graduate of 1959, graduate of old Troy High. Well, Charles Henderson.
The Troy High. We were the last graduating class from Troy High.
Okay, the last graduating class.
Fall they went to Charles Henderson.
That's right. They eventually toured that.
Yeah.
You know, they eventually
We're historic people now.
that old high school became a junior high school, and I was the last coach to coach in that PE department of that school before they tore it down. And now they have a beautiful facility there, a library, and that is very well conducive for a lot of our local people. Now, I was looking through here. This was at the end of Orion Street. This house was located at the end of Orion Street.
How about that?
And
I lived on Orion Street for a while, and I seen that when we first came to Troy when I was 2 years old.
And of course, I was looking through this yearbook, and boy, this yearbook's in mint condition.
Yeah.
You took such good care. But you know what? They use good paper.
Yeah.
You know, the yearbooks now.
It was well done.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Exactly. I mean, you know, this is their yearbook of 1959, and I'm very familiar with T. Bob Davis. I'm very familiar with Jimmy Williams, and I'm very familiar with Cheryl Crow, my good friend.
Jimmy Lawrence.
Jimmy Lawrence.
Burt Brown.
Burt Brown.
Jim Colley.
That's right.
Wiley Sanders.
That's right. That's right. You're exactly right.
I say he was in class all of his own. The rest of us were there.
And of course, somebody told me that, of course, some of the teachers were some of the same teachers I had, like Miss Dodson and Miss Barr and Miss Cowart and Miss Donnie Ellis and Pete Farah and Miss Falk. All those taught me too.
Yeah.
You know,
they taught generations.
I graduated in '65. He graduated in '59. But and there's Miss Hillier and Leon Hillier, two of my favorite people.
Absolutely.
Miss Flossie Gardner.
Yeah.
You know, Florence Gardner, they call her. And then there's Miss Lawrence and Miss Lamb. Every one of and Miss Miriam Kelly, what a wonderful lady, and Miss Sarah Johnson and Miss Mary Lamb. You know, you learned about the Civil War. You remember that?
Yeah.
And of course, a great teacher, and of course, Sarah Lawrence and Marvin Little, one of my favorites, and maybe the all-time favorite of all these was Miss Estelle McCullough, and they taught. You know, they taught you in 59, and they taught me in 65. And great teachers. The late great
teaching. Most of them were teaching 10 years later.
Exactly. Miss McDade taught us. Milton McKellar had a lot of pine trees planted.
Yeah.
You know, he was the vocational agriculture guy. John Marr was a math teacher and football coach.
Yeah.
Sonny Queen, the great Sonny Queen. Yeah. Man, this is every one of these guys are very well known. Miss June Sellers, what a great lady she was. Mary Selman, everybody knew her, and Ethel Smith. Mr. Cole, will you do the what was it? The newspaper article. You had to have a newspaper article when you went into class. Yeah. People, and I can see some of them came out of the dime store. You know, they were making up things.
Jerry Spann,
and the great
fixture,
and we lost him just recently. And he was a great man.
Great man.
Hey, you know what I remember more? You know what I remember more about Jerry Spann than anything? Y'all be quiet. But you were quiet too. He had a great flat top, didn't he?
Yeah.
And some of these other guys, Miss Sprott, Miss Librarian, and Robert Walters was your band director.
He had replaced Mr. Mall.
All right, and Mr. Mall was there for years, and which was
he started
phenomenal.
the band and orchestra back in 17 and 18. 1917, 1918.
Yeah, and he was renowned. Of course, he's in right across the campus here at Troy University, the Hall of Fame, and he was a member of the Alabama band directors Hall of Fame. Something I found out just recently, T-Bob, and you'll get a kick out of this, that Robert Walters was from Troy, and his mother ran the kindergarten, Miss Walters. The kindergarten. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
That was his mother, Miss Walters, Julia Walters. Which one did you go to, Miss Egan's or Miss Walters?
I didn't go to kindergarten.
You didn't? Why not?
I don't know. I just wound up going to first grade.
You've heard of it. Did you go to kindergarten?
Yeah. No, I didn't go to kindergarten. I went to some little play school for a while, but it wasn't a real kindergarten.
Well, the person that had kindergarten later on was Miss Barnett.
Really?
Yeah, she had it later on. And Miss Colquitt.
Yeah.
That group. Yeah.
Well, and I went to first 2 years at the lab school.
Yeah. Okay. You went to lab school. Yeah.
On Troy State campus.
Now I know the rest of the story. You're right.
Joe Griffin was in this class that we had on our show a while back.
Yeah, Joe's coming. I think he'll be here.
And Joe lives out in Missouri, right there in St. Louis, and got a ministry and so forth. Miss Wood, I remember her well. And there's my good buddy Bill Wilkes. It's amazing. And Miss Patricia Wiley, that's Patty Wiley, and her husband Marvin she was my wife's first cousin, Patty Wiley. She was from Bay Minette, but they taught here during this period of time that this wonderful book was published. And as you go through, you see all these guys, these pictures, and
Tommy Collins was
he'll be here too.
Vice President.
He'll be here too. He's one of those boppers. And there you are. You were the Vice President, or President. You were President.
I was President of the class. Tommy's Vice President.
Boy, that Mary Beth was cute, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, she's something else.
Elaine Baker.
Elaine Baker. She's helped keep the class together through the years. Mary Beth has.
Of course, Elaine later married the principal and superintendent of the schools. And, I tell you, Elane's a great person.
Wonderful man.
What a wonderful class y'all had. You must have had great memories growing up in Troy.
The superintendent that Elaine married was Hank Jones, and of course Hank, the late Hank Jones, and great bunch of folks here. I was looking here at one guy here, William Boutwell, lives down in Miami now. And Joe Boutwell is his brother, and I've been keeping up with him. And then Brenda Berry, and then how about this pretty lady from Birmingham? And somebody told me she'll be here. Betsy Brantley.
Betsy,
one of the Pie Brantley's girls. There was of course, we looked through here. And all these guys, Bert Brown was handsome then, and he was handsome now, wasn't he?
He was the most handsome, I guess, of all.
And then
Bert was a great guy.
And look at Jim Colley, boy, what a picture of Jim Colley.
Jim looked pretty serious. Yeah, we all had to look serious in that
right.
picture.
And of course, Cheryl Crow here, good picture of Cheryl with that flat top. Everybody had flat tops. Did you have a flat top?
Yeah, I was glad.
When you had hair.
I was glad to have hair.
But
hair today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And there's Earl Davis. We lost him just not too long ago. They had a picture of Kenny Davis there, one of the great boppers out there, and he'll be there this weekend. We're looking forward to that. Look at T-Bob right here, T-Bob.
Head full of hair.
And now, your daddy drove the cleaner's truck. Yes. Did you ever have to work for him?
Oh, I did. I ran. He would compete. He'd deliver on one side of the street, and I'd deliver on the other side. We'd see who get back to the
Pete Green, you mean Pete Green? Or your daddy?
It was my dad and I, yeah.
So what were y'all doing, picking up everybody's...
And back then, everybody, that's right, pick up and delivery.
They're doing that again.
Bill's Cleaners.
Yeah, but, and you lived in a brick house on Murphy Street.
Lived on Murphy Street.
And you lived in
two doors down from...
Joe Hollis lived right next door to you, didn't he? Joe Hollis?
The Hollises lived the next block.
Okay.
And 2 doors down from the Heads, and three doors or 4 doors down, I guess, from the Dr. Brantley.
Yeah,
Buddy,
that's right.
Buddy was my dear friend.
Yes, sir.
And Jimmy Lawrence. We played in Jimmy's yard.
See, my wife Carol lived on the corner there. You know, Roy Crow, and
right across from Jimmy Lawrence.
That's where she lived.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the printer that printed the Messenger lived right across the street.
Dotson's.
Dotson's, yeah.
They had a daughter.
Yeah.
And that was a dynamic neighborhood.
I'm going to give you something before you go. I've got a picture of the 1922 Rotary Club.
Wow.
And Mr. Dotson's one of those persons that I'm going to show that to you.
Sarah Ann Whaley and Miss Whaley would invite me times that they could not play for one of the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis Club, the Lions Club. They'd have me go play for them.
Yeah.
So I got to play in front of the public by doing that as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoyed going to those meetings because that was a good chance to be using my talent.
All right, what we're going to do, this is your life, T. Bob Davis, ladies and gentlemen, and if you folks out there, call around and let all your friends know. Of course, we are live on Facebook out in Dallas. You want to wave to all your friends in Dallas this morning. And, of course, he has been in Dallas for years. But let's start off.
52 years.
Let's start off, though, and where you are right now. Well, let's start off.
How we got there? Let's go.
Let's start from the beginning.
When you left Troy, where you
let's find out a little bit about him in Troy. It's something that was very unique. And I was a little kid growing up over on Orion Street.
Orion Street, I remember.
And I graduated.
And your brothers, your family.
Yeah, that's right. Joel.
Joel.
This weekend, and the class of 1959, and what a great class it was. But it came behind Tom Murphy, 1 year behind Tom Murphy, and some of those guys. And of course, I remember that great football team they had. And of course, we were looking through some of these people that were in that class. But more than anything, I'd like to find out exactly how you became the famous piano player that you are today. But are who taught you piano?
Well, when I was 4 years old, my sister-in-law, who's 20 years older, was 6 of us. I was the bottom of 6 children, and my brother was 20 years older, and his wife were 20 years older.
20 years older.
We were born in, all of us were born in Luverne and Glenwood. That
I got you. Okay, so, I know a lot of those folks.
So we lived.
Mac Gibson's one of them.
We lived in Luverne for 2 years of my life, then moved over here after that. Then we moved back to Luverne for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I was about 4 years old, and she took us, some of us, to a movie. They had Good Night Irene. You remember the song Good Night Irene?
Yeah.
And I went home, and we had an old upright piano, and I picked out the song. and they were blown away. They didn't know who was playing. Went there and saw me picking it out. That's
4 years old?
Yeah, 4 years old. She tells me. She passed. Elizabeth passed away 2 years ago at age 97.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So she told me that story a number of years ago, and that was the first time. And then a young student you might have known, she was Wilkinson, lived across the street when we lived on North 3-Knot Street.
Well, you know, Annette Wilkinson and Marshall Wilkinson, was it?
Lived next to the Qualls, the Qualls right there on North 3-Knot.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And she offered to teach me. Well, after about 3 lessons, a 6-year-old, 5 or 6-year-old doesn't know how to read anything, and she got frustrated because she couldn't tell where the page was and everything.
Yeah.
So 3 lessons, and she gave up, and we moved to Luverne for a couple of years, 3rd and 4th grade, and my sister, who was 25 years old, her sister Sarah, Sarah and Claude Morgan had a farm over there right off 5 miles in Vernage, right outside of Luverne.
I know where that is.
And the home place, that's still there. But anyway, we lived there 2 years, and she knew the organist at First Baptist, Miss Roberta Little there in Luverne, taught students. So she insisted Vivian, my niece, and I take. So we started taking from Miss Roberta for the 2 years. Then I moved back over and started from Miss Whaley.
Yeah. But she taught everybody there.
Yeah. Well,
still living.
Well, Mrs. Whaley.
Mrs. Whaley. Yeah, that's right.
Margaret.
Yeah, that's right.
And then she turned it over. When Sarah Ann came to town, she turned us over to Sarah Ann. Sarah Ann put up with us. Brian, we didn't practice a lot. We'd fake it. We'd go to the class and try to fake that we'd been practicing a lot. If I'd been smart, I would have practiced a lot.
Of course, you remember Dr. Ammerman, the great preacher at First Baptist Church, and of course you were coming along about that time.
Absolutely, he was very inspirational and instrumental in our spiritual growth. Absolutely.
And of course, did you? Now Sarah Ann was always her and her mother were the organist at First Baptist.
Yes.
Did you ever get to play much in front of the church?
That's one thing that we thank Miss Whaley and Sarah Ann for, because that gave us the chance to play duets and solos with her there in the church, and that was very important toward
some water if you need water.
Well, thank you. Preparing me to do what I wound up doing, playing at First Baptist Dallas and Prestonwood. Prestonwood became one of the mega churches, and I left First Baptist after 18 years playing there. When I was playing there and at Prestonwood when they were starting up, and it's got 20-something thousand members now. It's one of the mega churches.
Is that in Dallas?
It's in.
Is it a Baptist church or non-denominational?
It's a Baptist church, and it grew exponentially, just real rapidly in the beginning 80s to the 90s, and they moved out to 7,200 seats.
Before we get into that though, now you graduated from Troy High School
in '59,
and then you go to Troy State.
No, I went to Mars Hill.
I know where that is.
Mrs. Whaley's,
Carolina.
Mrs. Whaley's brother, you knew...
Gilliston, wasn't it?
Mr. Gilliston. He had been a broker.
Very wealthy. Coca-Cola stock.
I didn't know what it was, but I know that he did well.
Yeah.
And he taught our Sunday school class, substitute, when I was a teenager one time. And I was impressed with him. And I did not realize, I guess, that he was Mrs. Whaley's brother.
Yeah.
And so he had sent his daughter to Mars Hill Junior College up in the mountains of North Carolina, outside of
4-year school now.
Yeah, it's a university now. It's the same number of students, but it's a university.
That's right. Yeah.
But anyway, he had known the president, Dr. Blackwell, were friends, and he had set up a fund for students from Pike County, Alabama.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
To go there. And so he came in the drugstore one day when I was working for Gam Green.
That's right.
And I mean, he did not need a bottle of aspirin. I think that's what he ordered. He went back and picked up something off the counter and came to me to buy it. It's just Mr. Green. We were closing down.
Yeah.
And he bought that. And he said, "Where are you going to college?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm still looking because I've got to get some."
You wanted to go free, didn't you?
Well, I need to get scholarships because I didn't have anything to go on.
Yeah.
And so we weren't wealthy people at all. So So I said, well, I'm looking at 2 or 3 schools. He said, you don't want to go there. You want to go to Mars Hill? I said, I've never heard of Mars Hill.
Yeah, I know it.
Junior college. He said, well.
And to get there back then was pretty hard to do too, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he said, don't worry about that. And he said, don't worry about that. So he walked out, and I went to Gam Green back in the back. I said, Mr. Green, I had an interesting conversation with Mr. Gelston. And I said, he asked me where I was going to college, and I told him I was looking at 2 or 3, but I didn't have the funds to go, so I was working on that. And he said, you don't need to go. You need to go to Mars Hill. I said, I've never heard of Mars Hill. And I said, well, I couldn't afford to go out of state. He said, well, don't worry about that. And Mr. Green looked at me and said, if Mr. Gelston said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So it was,
his family was from Atlanta, very well-to-do folks.
So that changed your whole life, right?
Yeah, because it was a loan for books and expenses, tuition, for 2 years that you could pay back when you got out.
Yeah.
And it was a way I'd saved up a couple of $1,000.
Did you end up paying that off?
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And,
or did Mr. Gillis he didn't pay it off?
No, the fund is still there.
Isn't that amazing?
But it has had to be worked on. It had to be worked on because nobody from Troy was going up there.
All right, let's move back just a little bit. Green Drugs, Gam Green was a pharmacist and had owned 2 or 3 drugstores in town. He owned a couple of them downtown, and then he built a new one on North 39th Street, right next to A&P, and also Mary Chevrolet. And they
was 3. There were 3 buildings together.
Jesse Colley was there.
Dr. Colley and
Dr. Jones.
J. Allen Jones.
That's right.
There were 3 buildings right together beside the Chevrolet place on one side and A&P.
Yeah, his mother worked for the Chevrolet place.
My grandmother, Lucy.
Your grandmother, I mean.
Worked at Mary Chevrolet.
Lucy Rice is your grandmother.
That's right.
That's right.
Bill Rice
is my daddy, and Marcia Rice is my mama.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marcia Chapman was with y'all when she was in school.
That's right.
Well, I got a story about your grandmother.
Lucy? Okay.
I believe it was her that came into the drugstore. They always came in
they have coffee.
For coffee, and I served them all coffee. And I believe it was her that came in there and said, did they go to the Episcopal Church?
They sure did, that's it.
She came in there. Listen, she came in there and said, we don't have an organist at our church. They left. You need to come and play the organ for our church. And I said, I hadn't been an organist. She said, well, you can come learn. She did not turn me loose. And she insisted I did, so I got Sarah and Whaley to go over there and show me how to register a Hammond organ.
Yeah.
You remember the Hammond organ?
Yeah, well, I reckon.
And of course, that was just a block and a half from my house.
Yeah, sure.
So I learned to play the organ at the Episcopal Church because she insisted that they needed an organist.
And let me tell you something, they weren't...
Wouldn't turn me loose.
So you did it.
And it gave me the impetus to learn to play the organ. And Sarah came and showed me, and I played a little bit. I practiced at the First Baptist organ, and I was able to play organ some to help pay my way through school for churches in Birmingham. And then I still play organ for weddings.
How much different is it playing the organ and the piano? Is there much difference?
It's different because you got different layers that you play different registers, 1, 2, 3, 4.
But if you can play the piano, you can probably teach yourself to play the organ, or not?
Not necessarily. It's a different skill. And plus, you got your legs going.
Yeah.
You got your
and what a life! Now let me tell you something. Over that church, they were pouring real wine. You know, when you had their Lord's Supper at the Baptist church, it was grape juice. Yeah. But beautiful church.
Some of the priests and some of the
I tell you what,
you became a dentist too. Is that? Were you a dentist, or are you a dentist?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But the reason I became a piano player, and I'll talk about the dentist part, but the reason I became a piano player, people like that, and I say this to you because you understand.
Yeah.
The people of Troy were so encouraging of us as we grew up.
That's right. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they saw in us what we didn't see in ourselves, right?
That's right.
and they could see that we had potential. Marvin Little.
Oh yeah. Great man.
He made sure I had a car that I could afford.
Yeah.
He knew I didn't have any money, but every time I needed a car, he made sure I got one I could afford.
Yeah. We're talking to T. Bob Davis, ladies and gentlemen, who is a dentist in Dallas, Texas. You've practiced dentistry how long?
Well, I practiced 52 years, 2 years in the Air Force, and then 50 years privately as of next month.
Did you go to Sanford Dental School, or where'd you go?
I went to Sanford for my last 2 years, Mars Hill, and then Sanford University of undergraduate.
Old Howard College.
Old Howard. Started out at Howard College, and 3 years later, after I left, they named it Sanford.
Yeah.
And then I went to University of Alabama School of Dentistry. It was the University of Alabama.
Yeah, sure.
Tuscaloosa School of Dentistry.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, it got bought by the University of Alabama in Birmingham as a separate entity there.
And of course, what caused you to move to Dallas?
My uncle, your uncle.
All right, who is that?
Uncle Sam.
Oh. Well, you had to go into the service. How long were you in the service?
I was in 2 years. Back then, there was a threat that we would be...
Would you like coffee?
Thank you.
Okay, good.
It was a threat that we would be jerked out of school and have to serve and then have to go back to school. So nobody wanted to leave the medical center and go to military. So they started an early commissioning program. So when I was at the end of my freshman year, I was able to sign up on the dotted line, and they would promise me they wouldn't mess with us during dental school. And then within 6 months after dental school, you would be assigned a position. So I had about 6 weeks before I was assigned to the Air Force.
I hope you'll get to eat at Sister's restaurant while you're here. Have you ever eaten at Sister's?
Oh yeah.
Boy, what a great place it is.
It is. We love going there.
In fact, exactly right. I hope you'll eat there today. Wonderful food at Sister's. Of course, T. Bob Davis is a veteran Troy person, as a kid growing up. And I'd go to the First Baptist Church. That's where I first noticed you, and you were playing the piano.
Yeah.
And of course, they had the Baptist Children's Home sitting over here, and
200 kids.
200 kids, and then a huge group of people. They're sitting in the balcony, and Dr. Ammerman was the preacher. And yesterday, or day before yesterday, we were talking to my son. Are you still on the air, Mike?
Yeah, I'm on.
He's down in Florida listening to us this morning.
I know you.
And of course, he'll something that we were talking about. He went to Vacation Bible School the other day, and they charged him a fee to go to Vacation Bible School.
How about that?
All right, do you remember Dr. Ammerman used to have a parade every year to start Vacation Bible School, and all the kids would get on these cars and convertibles and trucks and all that. They'd go down West College Street saying, "Come to Vacation Bible School. Come to Vacation Bible School." And then Dr. Ammerman would be sitting on the police. Shorty Sullivan had a motorcycle. You remember Shorty Sullivan, the policeman? They had the square box.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ammerman would be sitting on the back of that square box.
Oh, my goodness.
But of course, you were off at college back then. And but growing up in Troy, jumping back to the drugstore, that was one of your first jobs. But Gam Green built this new drugstore and had a wonderful fountain that made milkshakes and hamburgers, and a lot of the people came in for coffee and the drugstore and all that. And you were one of the lucky ones to work behind the bar.
Very lucky.
Or you were the soda jerk, or what do you call it?
Drugstore cowboy.
Did you make a good banana split?
Oh boy, yeah.
But so all of that was going on, and Ward, there were two guys ahead of you. Who was that?
Bubba Bruce was well before
the first dairy guy. Yeah.
Well, what was his first name? For a second, I can't remember. But
Ward was the next one, wasn't he? That was Alice K. Ward's brother.
Really, and when he left, Mrs. Green saw me at church one Sunday.
That's
said,
right.
Said, would you consider coming to work for us? And I was just thrilled because I've been throwing newspapers for 5 years. From age 10 to 15, I threw newspapers. As a matter of fact, Frances Price Davis, her house was the end of my route on Farmer Street. And my route started on Love Street and went all the way back.
Well, you know what, the guy.
Everybody had the newspaper back then.
Yeah, everybody got the newspaper.
Oh yeah, everybody got the Messenger. We still, you know, if you live in Troy and don't read the Messenger, you're in trouble because you won't be able to keep up with everything.
That's right. That's right. So I threw those for 3 years, and then I got the pick of the crop was the 3 streets one I lived on. Murphy, College, and Walnut.
Yeah.
That was the easiest. That was right. The other had hills and
a guy that followed your footsteps that idolized you was Merle Buddy Barron.
He was
took over your route, didn't he?
Took over my route.
And he became a doctor.
He went to Birmingham.
He was smart like you.
He was a great friend.
You were his idol. Did you know that? You were his role model.
He was one of my best friends. We have been in touch, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I
hope he comes up.
Well, I was trying to get him to meet. I don't think they're going to be able to come, but I was trying to get him to come up. He sent me a letter the other day, and I wrote back.
Was he the doctor down in Dothan or Enterprise? Dothan, yeah.
Enterprise in Dothan area, yeah. But we stay in touch.
But everybody wanted that job, and of course T-Bob took it over from Ward, and then to work behind the counter.
Yeah.
And all those business people would come in there, and they invented a game. And it was somebody carved a piece of wood, and they put a little iron thing there, and you dropped a little metal round metal ball down there, and it would go around and it would hit a number 20. Tell us about it. You don't remember that, and whoever won would pay for the coffee or whatever. And they had that machine. Gam Green had that machine for years.
Oh, my grandfather played it. Yeah.
You remember that?
My parents did a story on that.
Yeah,
read some pictures. We had a weekly paper in town.
And those folks would come in and have coffee. Of course, Judson Colley would come down from the Chevrolet dealership. And
now let me ask you about your newspaper route. Was it an afternoon paper? So when did you do your route?
Right after school.
Right after school.
You leave 3:05, leave school, go pick it up by the water tower, the big water tower.
How much would you make a week?
Oh my goodness!
Did you make $1?
Probably.
Did you have to collect?
Oh, that was part. You delivered Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
And then Saturday you collected.
That's right. That was a rough part of it. Yeah.
And I had Love Street. I had Madison Avenue, Madison Street rather, and then I had Falmouth. And so I had a long way to go.
And so you would roll them, and then you would ride your bicycle
roll them
and
throw them. Yeah. Or you take them.
Yeah, that's right.
You take them and you throw it like.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
A little wrist.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, somebody asked me the other day if I could do that.
Yeah,
I just did it.
Well, I tell you.
You think of all the ultra successful people that their first job was as a newspaper carrier.
That's right. And of course, Steve Flowers took over from Merle. Steve Flowers, had a paper route for a long time. You know Steve.
Oh yeah.
And I think it might have been Buddy Brantley's route. I'm
I
not
wonder
sure.
who the last newspaper carrier was that was a kid that did it on their bicycle. When I was living in Troy as a kid, there was a guy named Greg Danley. I think he was the son of the Methodist preacher. That he still did his messenger paper route on his bicycle, and that would have been in the late 70s.
Yeah.
But nowadays, for liability reasons, that they're contractors and they all do it in their car.
Something very interesting. When you did collect, I'm sure there were different methods. Some people would leave it in the box. Somebody would leave it underneath the mat. You had certain places that they would leave it. But did they all pay?
Probably.
People paid the bill.
Because if they didn't pay, you had to pay, didn't you?
There's an interesting story that I probably shouldn't tell, but I won't tell it.
I want you to.
Now's the time to tell it.
Now's the time to tell it. There was a certain minister in town, last name was Swindle.
Oh, gosh.
I'll never forget, never paid him.
Never paid his paper.
Never paid paper.
He must have. I thought he should have got it free.
I thought that was interesting to me. But you asked me, the people paid for their. They.
The Mister was important to people. It really was. And of course, Mr. Dotson ran it for many years, and had Caroline. You remember Caroline? His daughter, and
she
all that.
actually went up to Mars Hill after me. The second year.
Let me ask you an off-the-wall question that just came to me. Is there still just one dental school in Alabama at the University of Alabama, Birmingham?
Yeah, there's just one dental school in Alabama.
Could the state support another one?
No. They wouldn't need that per se.
I was wondering if Troy could ever get a dental school.
Texas has 3, and they just approved, the legislature last month, basically approved a 4th, which has been in the making, and it's going to be in El Paso.
All right, now, of course, we've got 15 minutes of this live telecast from our studios on South Brundy Street in Troy, Alabama. Boy, that's a rough-looking guy right there. Whoa, some of these pictures were rough-looking.
They asked us, I think we're supposed to look serious.
And you'd be surprised this, T-Bob. I know most every one of them. I keep up with Trojans everywhere. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah. And that's Wiley. That'd been a great picture. Look at this picture of Wiley.
Read what they said about him. They always said something.
Blessed is the man who first invented sleep. And if you can see Wiley, of course, the late Wiley Sanders, who became a billionaire, and nobody gave him a chance. Yeah. But he never gave up. He had some hard times, but he kept coming back. And I'm sure you watched his career all the way from Dallas, Texas, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, he built a plant there in Dallas a number of years ago for the plastics business, for the paint tubs.
Y'all had a great class.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, what I'd like to know is this.
The last class at Troy High School.
You go through and, you had a great experience. Murphy Park was just right behind your house.
Yeah,
the big swimming pool. Did you ever go in that ice-cold swimming pool?
Took swimming lessons there and thought I was going to drown a time or two.
Yeah. Well, one time...
It was closed most of the time my growing up, though, because of the mosquito issue. Yeah. And because of the polio outbreak, and it was closed a lot.
Well, see, they had the high tower. I used to go off the high tower. Jimmy Ellis used to be one of the lifeguards there. And you know how they used to take the water out, on Wednesdays and then refill it? They didn't have a filtering system. That water was ice cold. Well, one time they were cleaning it out, and a bunch of us boys were just fooling around. Shouldn't have been there. Well, I was in the pool, and they were letting the water out. And if Jimmy Ellis had not come back to get his car keys, I might have drowned, because then he heard me and said, "Help, help." He reached down there and grabbed me and pulled me out. My God. But I would have been trapped in that pool.
Oh, my God.
I had no business being in there, but that's where they used to do it. Wow. And then when they put that water back in there, it was ice cold. Just ice cold. Yeah. But you leave here and you go to college, and you go to dental school. Now, that costs money. What happened?
Borrowed. I worked summers. Went to Denver, Colorado. My sister Carolyn, who was friends with Mr. Gelson's daughter. Yeah. And my sister Joanne Watkins here.
Of course, at Harold Watkins. Joanne, his wife was your sister.
And just took her out to dinner last night.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to visit Hook's Barbecue.
It was good. It was good, wasn't it? Yeah.
So we were. Remind me, I'm getting old.
I know.
What we're talking about?
Well, we're talking about, all right, after you went ahead and you graduated from dental school, and then you had to go in the military or what?
Yeah, I went to the military.
All right,
Air Force. I got assigned to Sherman, Texas, about 70 miles north, on the border of Oklahoma, north of Dallas. Yeah. And I had heard I had gone out in Denver. I was telling that I went to Denver to my other sister lived. One of the 3 sisters lived in Denver with her family. And so she invited me to come out in summers between college years and work out there. So I sold full of brushes and knocked on every door.
Full of brushes.
Sold full of brushes in the summers in Denver. and enjoyed being out and knocking on the doors. And so with that, I enjoyed being up there. And we went to Red Rocks Amphitheater, which is a beautiful amphitheater, because they had a Rocky Mountain Baptist Associational big rally for everybody. And the First Baptist Church of Dallas brought their youth choir, 200 kids, and sang there. And my parents from Troy were there that weekend. They come up to be with us, and so we went and took a bunch of young people and heard them, and I thought, boy, I'd been playing in Birmingham. I'd been playing for youth groups, and I said,
while you were in college?
While I was in college in Birmingham, we had the largest Birmingham Baptist Association youth rally. It was the largest one in Southern Baptist Life, and we packed up the biggest venues, including the Sanford Gymnasium with young people once a month, and I was helping do that and playing for that. So I said, boy, I'd love to hear that choir again. So 5 years later, I'm getting ready to go off to the Air Force, and I get a trunk here and a trunk here and a trunk. And the trunk here is to take with me, a trunk to leave at home, and trunk to throw away. And I found that little advertisement for the group at Red Rocks. And I said, I'll go hear that choir again. So when the first Sunday I'm in Texas, in Wichita Falls, I talked to some friends to go to Six Flags with me on Saturday, and church on Sunday.
Six Flags over in Dallas, I've been there before. Over Texas.
And, it just had not been open that long.
That's right.
And so we went there for Saturday, and I went to church Sunday morning, and met. The second person I met was Dr. Charles Ryrie, who of the Ryrie Study Bible. He was the Bible teacher for the medical dental Sunday school class. And I went into the church, and the youth choir was not there. They were on tour in Europe and in Canada. So I had to come back. And when I heard that youth choir, I said, that's where I belong. And so I started going to church there.
First Baptist Church of Dallas, Texas.
70 miles away.
How many members?
That back then they had 26,000 members. Well, a lot of them are dead, maybe.
Yeah, I know, and I understand.
But I started going there, and they heard me play the piano. Now, the minister of music there, Leroy Till, was famed, wonderful minister of music. His mother-in-law had worked at the Alabama Baptist Church.
I got you.
And I met him, and he heard me play.
Hobson Shire and all those great people.
Wonderful people. So he asked me to play for them, and I started driving down, and during the Air Force, I was playing for them. And God just don't make no mistakes, Mike. I had a month off between my first year and the second year of the Air Force. It was the month they were taking 200 teenagers to Europe on a choir tour.
Man,
I was able to play the piano, and a dentist buddy there was playing the organ, and we did the organ piano for 3-hour concerts in Royal Albert Hall in London, the Congress Hall in Berlin, and went to Austria, Switzerland, France, went to Italy, and flew back. Now, if God is not in control of your life, sometimes you just ain't looking.
And you became the piano player for this giant church in Dallas, Texas.
I played for them until I left. I was playing there and at Prestonwood when they were starting, and we were raising our kids, and I just couldn't do both. Practicing dentistry too, raising kids.
Exactly.
So we left First Baptist. At the same time, Robert Jeffers.
After how many years?
18 years. Robert Jeffers was our youth minister by then. We'd help encourage him as a teenager, and he was our youth minister. And he and I left basically the same Sunday. He went to start a ministry in Eastland, Texas, and we went to Prestonwood, north of town. In North.
That's a new church.
It was a new church, but they exploded, and they have a 7,200-seat auditorium.
And you worked for them for how long?
24 years.
Did you do it for free, or did they pay you?
It was basically free. Everything you do with the piano.
And you're on TV nationwide, and of course you had the great preachers and all that.
And Dr.
So you, as far as Baptists are concerned, you were in the Mecca of Baptists.
Oh, we dearest friends, all of them, most of them.
We're talking about huge church, and this last church.
Probably a lot of people we would know that were members of these churches.
Yeah, exactly.
And Zig Ziglar, he was born in Tennille, Alabama, which is right outside of Brundage down there. And
Tennell, that's right.
Tennell,
Yeah.
And he always said he was
I didn't realize that.
Well, he always said he was from Yazoo City because at 6 years old they moved there.
and they gave Marcel the beer joint and Yazoo City, Jerry Clower.
Well, I'd kid you because he and I wound up at Prestonwood.
Yeah.
He was at First Baptist teaching.
He's a great preacher, is that right?
Teacher, yeah. He was Zig was America's motivator.
Yeah.
And he was there, and we moved to Prestonwood, and he talked to me, and he and his wife talked, and said, we'd like to do that. We don't want to leave Dr. Crystal. I said, well, you need to do it because it's time. So he went to Prestonwood, and we had a Sunday school class there. I did the piano music for the start, and then he'd teach.
What time would y'all meet on Sunday morning?
It was first thing, it was 9 o'clock.
Yeah, Zig Ziglar, the great preacher. And how many members did y'all have? How many y'all ended up having?
Motivation speaker. Prestonwood wound up with like 26.
You worked for two of the biggest churches. You worked for two of the biggest Baptist churches in the world.
The Lord opened doors for me to play the piano.
And how did you pull teeth at the same time? All of those people, all of those 25,000, listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, not only was he involved in the church, but he had 25,000 people that needed a dentist.
That's right. It was all ivory work.
So I mean,
all ivory work.
But so you had a
dentist. I was down to the mouth during the day. I'd get out at night and play the piano. Did you
own your own dental practice?
Yeah.
How many did you have? A lot of dental dentists under you?
I heard some first year out for about 7 years. Decided it was hard work. And so
you had people that clean teeth and all that, though. You had a lot of, but you had a big staff.
What you don't know, and I'll tell you real quick, because this is where I am right now. For 43 years, my wife volunteered me to go on a dental mission trip.
Yeah.
And I got concerned because she told me the church, they needed somebody to go to Matamoros with Dr. Crystal's personal physician and do dental care. And I said, well, she volunteered me. And I said, well, I never been on the dental mission trip. She said, well, put up or shut up, because you talked about it all the 8 years of our marriage. So in 77, I started doing dental missions, and for 43 years I have done dental missions. And
where do y'all go?
We went to Matamoros for 34 years.
Where's Matamoros?
It's on the border with Texas, Brownsville, right across.
Call you back.
We went there for 30, and I took over 100, sometimes 107, 109, 115 people with me for a long weekend, and we did dental care throughout the city of Matamoros. And then the cartel got so bad we had to leave. So I went to Guatemala, and we started going. We've been there 8 years in a row, and we had 89 people with me 1 year. Yeah. And we are right now finishing. I've got pictures. I'll show you on my here.
Well, it's okay. Somebody's really trying to get in touch with me here. Let's see here.
A new.
You on Today in L.A.? How you doing? Yes. I'm on there. I can't talk right now. I'll call you back.
Chair dental clinic we're building. We're building a charity 21-chair dental clinic, and they've got the roof on. The lady texted me yesterday that they're fixing to put the windows.
That's wonderful.
The windows in. Yeah. And so we'll have a 21-chair permanent clinic there. Yeah. And I've got the dental school in Guatemala working with me, and they brought 50 students out to work with us the last 2 years.
That's wonderful. Well, of course, we don't have much more time, but something I would like to say about T-Bob Davis. Not only has he had a great career, and you've been a great Christian and layman for many, many years. Tell us about, though, when you thought back, riding down the road of Troy, Alabama. What made Troy, Alabama a great town for you?
Let me tell you what I wrote in the plane coming over here. This summarizes. Most of us have had wonderful lives, and I attribute much of that to the wonderful folks of Troy who nurtured us. I also attribute much of that to the wonderful influence of our class members to each other, because we had such love and respect. That was our custom, and it still remains strong with our class. So our teachers molded us, our community supported us, our families inspired us, and our Heavenly Father watched over us.
And Troy, Alabama was a great town to grow up in, wasn't it?
It was a great town to start your life in.
Yeah.
They don't make them like this much anymore.
Well, you were a legend, I'm telling you, and you were a great role model for people like me that saw you in church and saw you behind the counter at Green's Drugs and rooted from reading. Yeah, so every great Trojan, and of course there's a story. Somebody could write a book about the newspaper guys of Troy. Look at some of Merle Barron. Look at Steve Flowers.
20 minutes.
Look at Bob Davis.
You had to have about 3 or 4 jobs going at once. I mean, you're working at the drugstore, throwing the newspaper, playing the piano.
All right, let me tell you, I know some great people were members of some of your churches. One of them was the great Dallas Cowboy football coach.
Tom Landry?
Tom Landry, you were close to him, weren't you?
Tom he and Roger Staubach and...
they went to your church?
Well, they were active with FCA. Now, Tom's wife still comes to the church some, but they were active with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and every year they'd have a fundraiser, and the state director was my dear friend, and I would play for that. And the last time I saw Tom Landry, he was leading it, and he was a wonderful.
Now I know you got a lot of tapes out. You got a Christmas tape that I listen to all the time.
All the Christmas songs.
And I know it's been so much fun to be a part of your tapes. How can somebody buy these tapes?
Online, tbobdavis.com.
tbobdavis.com.
Website, yeah. It also tells about the mission trip. I love the mission trip.
Exactly right. Well, I tell you, you have a great reunion, and it all starts today.
Thank you for making it possible what you do.
I'm glad
you're making it.
Well,
so
you're one of my.
See a lot of the older folks.
You're one of my
heroes.
heroes.
See all the old folks.
Yeah, you're right. You're one of my heroes. T. Bob Davis, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of you folks from watching across the country on Facebook today. Hey, he was a young man that grew up in the small town of Troy, Alabama, and became one of the great Christian music people in the world.
I appreciate you.
And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a great weekend. It is Reunion 2019, starting at the Troy Country Club. That is a 6 o'clock start on Saturday, featuring the great sound of the Fabulous Shades. Have a great weekend. See you again at 1:30. This show comes back again at 1:30.